Hey, so I recently got this question and I thought it'd be a good one to answer for you guys here. And it says, how should new teachers market themselves to start getting clients? Do you think they have to teach in a group setting before becoming a private yoga instructor? So I would say, group classes are a great place to find private clients, and they're also easier to get on your schedule as a new teacher. So I definitely recommend most new teachers put their focus there when they're just out of teacher training, because as a new teacher, more than anything, you just need to start teaching and teach as much as you can in as many different, diverse, challenging situations as you can. And so group classes are a really, really great place to start, even if you think that mostly what you want to do is teach private clients. And so, if you hope to meet potential private clients in your group classes, though, let me give you a 4-step plan to help you out. So, the first step is to find out whether or not you signed a non compete clause in the contracts with the studios and the gyms that you teach at. Many yoga studios do have them, and then you couldn't really take private clients from the studio unless you saw the private client through the studio. So, but it's a good thing to find out. This is a great place to find new private clients in a gym or a studio class if you're allowed to work with people privately that you've met there, because you don't have to sell these students on yoga. Like, they're already coming to a yoga class, so they already know a little bit about and like yoga, and you don't even have to sell them on you because they're coming to your class, so they obviously like you. They know, like, and trust you, and so it's an easier sort of transition in that way. There are other ways, if they're coming to a group yoga class and they're only paying 10 or 15 or $20 for a yoga class, and so they may not understand the benefits of a private lesson and why it's worth more money. So that's a different hurdle. But sometimes you'll have students who hate the idea of yoga or don't know who you are. And so those are in some ways much harder students to market to. So if they're already coming to your group class and they like you, those are two hurdles that you don't have to jump over. So what you do in this session is or in this situation is show them the difference between private classes and group classes and help them see the value of private work. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in an upcoming video. So that's step one. Find out whether or not you signed non-compete clause, and then consider, working with the students that you meet in your group classes to turn them towards private lessons if it's appropriate. And then, so step two is make sure your group class students know that you teach private lessons. I mention this pretty regularly and kind of casually in the group classes that I teach. And so it'll look something like this. In the private lesson that I taught this morning, my student, I showed him this wrist exercise. Oh, you guys can't see. It's like I showed him this wrist exercise where we were doing this. And it was really hard for him, but after a while it got easier. So I want to try this with you and see how it feels. Whatever, something like that. And so I'll just mention it in passing that I teach private clients, because a lot of group class students won't even know it's an option. And then the other thing that you can do, again, if it's appropriate in the studio that you teach in, when you make studio announcements, about special workshops or special classes or whatever any other studio announcements you need to make, you can also mention that you have a few spots open for private lessons. And, maybe if you offer a discounted package for brand new private students, you could mention that as well. And it can just be like, we've got this great workshop coming up. A friend of mine is offering this retreat, and I also have a couple spots open for private lessons, so let me know if you'd like to talk more about that. Just easy breezy, pass right through it, don't obsess over it, but do it, and do it regularly so that they know. Step 3 is that when students stay after class with a question, you can definitely spend a moment with them, give them a quick answer to their question, but you can, if it's appropriate, if it feels right, then you can also suggest that even just 1 or 2 private lessons would be a great way to dig more deeply into their question. I usually frame the suggestion of a private lesson as a place to learn some modifications that they can bring into the group class. So it doesn't feel like pressure. I'm not like, you should really just be doing private lessons. I don't say it like that. I just say, what would be really fun? I would love to have just even 1 or 2 private lessons with you so that we could create together some modifications for you to bring in to this group class so you can keep taking this group class in a way that feels really good to you. So that's how I suggest it. And then very, very regularly, someone will come thinking they're going to do 1 or 2 or 3 private lessons. And I can think of 4 people right now who started like that, and I now see once a week and have for several years. So it's a low pressure suggestion, and it doesn't always, but it often then will turn into a long-term private client. So that's my third suggestion. And then step 4 is that when you teach your group classes, make sure you're doing it in a way that it gives your students a taste of what it might feel like to have all of your one-on-one attention. So I really make an effort to learn all of my students' names immediately, as well as any injuries or discomfort or body issues. And I give them modifications and check in and ask how they're doing throughout the group class, like even if there's 25 people there. So people already know what it looks and feels like to have my attention, to have my eye, even in just a little slice of it, so that they could picture what it might feel like to have all of my attention. So let me go through those steps again. If you're a newer teacher or you're wanting to teach more private lessons, group classes can be a great place to find private clients. So step 1 is make sure it's legit and okay with the studio or the gym that you teach at. And step 2 is to make sure your group class students know you teach private lessons. You can mention it throughout the practice and afterwards as well in the announcements. Step 3 would be when a student stays to after class to ask you a question about a discomfort they're having, trouble they're having in a pose, offer them the modifications or the suggestions that you can in like 90 seconds or under, and then suggest a private lesson if you think that you'd be able to help them further. And then the last piece is when you teach your group classes, learn your students' names, learn what's going on with their bodies, pay attention to them in a group setting so they can imagine what it might feel like to have all your attention. So those are some ideas for turning group class students into private students. Let me know what you think. Let me know if this makes sense and what questions you have. Okay, bye for now.